Okay, well, good evening. Welcome back to Central Kentucky TV, Channel 6. Kenny Fogle here with you. We're going to be talking about a subject's been around for quite a while now. It's been something that's going on in a lot of the county fiscal courts, been going on in city halls all over the state of Kentucky, and now they're talking about it in the halls of Frankfort, and it's something we want to talk about as well. I got Pat Whalen here with me, and along with Judy Richardson Jett, and we're going to talk a bit about smoke-free Kentucky. And well, I'm going to let you all, first of all, tell us why we're here today.
Well, it's something that's sorely needed for our state. We unfortunately lead the nation in lung cancer deaths. It costs a fortune to our state. The number boggled my mind, $4.7 billion a year in both direct costs and also lost economic costs, lost productivity. And, you know, it makes you think, if I were running a major business, would I want to bring it here if you're going to have that kind of problem? So it's affecting us all over everything, and we really need to do something to take care of the folks who do not choose to smoke.
Okay, well, Pat, I'm going to take the other side of the issue. I'm going to come in and say, it's my business, I can smoke if I want to. How can you tell me I can't smoke?
Well, I can't tell you, but that was brought up after Lexington went into their smoke-free ordinance, and it was contested in the courts, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court of Kentucky. And the Kentucky Supreme Court made their final decision that public health superseded property rights. So the Kentucky
So we're talking
Court,
public health. We're not just talking public buildings like the Capitol building. Are we also talking restaurants? Are we talking any place that people gather?
yeah, and it's a health issue. It's for the health of those people that are in those buildings. It's simply a health issue. It's not really a smoke. You know, people call it a smoking ban.
Yeah.
And that's really an incorrect term. It's a smoke-free environment for those who don't smoke, and it's a health issue. So that people can continue to smoke. It's just that it's not where it's going to harm other people.
So basically, when a restaurant, I know restaurants will argue, say, well, we got a smoking section and a non-smoking section. Even so, sometimes it's just a little partition of glass or something else. But you're also talking about the employees that work there.
Yes, and that's the main key is that, you know, if I choose not to go to a smoking establishment, I can make that choice. But if I'm working, I don't have that choice. And so just the whole overall health is the key issue. And when they had the partitions and they had the ventilation systems and all that, research showed that none of those were effective. There was no way to clear out the toxins. You could clear out the smoke, the visible smoke, but you couldn't clear out the toxins. And so the only safe environment is a non-smoking environment.
Well, Judy, you mentioned we're one of the top states, if not the top state in cancer. Does that correlate basically with other states that do have smoking bans? I mean, do other states? How many are we in a minority?
Well, we're beginning to be in a minority. More states do have smoking bans, and it's not just lung cancer. When you find a community that has gone smoke-free, then maybe they have an appeal and they're not smoke-free, then they go back to being smoke-free. What you find is the heart attack rate drops when they're smoke-free, goes up when they're non-smoke-free, back down when they're back to being smoke-free. You know, and again, it's the secondhand smoke that's doing this. You know, people who have chosen not to smoke but are unable to prevent, you know, themselves from breathing it because somebody else is willing to basically poison the air. We won't let people poison the food. And our stomachs can handle a lot more stuff than our lungs can.
And I think one of the reasons that we lead the nation in the lung cancer rates and deaths is that we also lead the nation in adult smoking. And so
Is it I don't know, I guess the culture of Kentucky? We've grown up around tobacco. I mean, I grew up on a tobacco farm. I mean, growing up and stripping tobacco and doing that and living off tobacco. So is that what's mainly the culture, or is it just, I mean, obviously the education has been out there for years. I mean, we've been, since I've been in high school, they've been beating us on our head that smoking is simply not good for you, but it's still not catching on.
Well, it's not. For whatever reason, I have no idea why the lawmakers continue to push it aside and hopefully it just dies in committee. And the culture is part of it. We grew tobacco on our little farm also when I grew up here. I don't know. I think it's I think it's more of a fear factor, a fear that, people have said, oh, it's a slippery slope. Once you start this, you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and you're going to do this. Well, that's just not true.
Yeah.
I think we're interested in the harmful effects of secondhand smoke, and that's our only interest. We're not interested in then moving on to food and soft drinks and et cetera, et cetera. And I think part of it is the fear factor that, oh, it's going to turn into something even larger than what it is.
Well, some counties and cities have already done this. I mean, obviously, so because you go to Jefferson County, I mean, they don't say smoking or non-smoking part of the restaurant because it's all non-smoking. So I guess going through the state legislature would stop having to go to all 120 counties and make this speech.
Well, it would, and what I find really interesting, one of my relatives said was not very happy when Jefferson County went smoke-free, but more recently has said, I hate to eat any place, go into any restaurant, any place but Jefferson County because I don't have to deal with smoke. And I'll go back to the culture. I am afraid there's some part of the culture, because so many people, the tobacco paid for Christmas, and may probably sent me to college. But if a person had sent me to college and then killed my husband, which I regard as having done, I wouldn't still be liking it. Okay, and we have to think, what are we willing to do, for me to make a profit, but what the damage it does to someone else. I mean, I think we all have to think about that pretty carefully.
So in Frankfort right now, obviously there's two sides to the issue. What's the opposition? I mean, the opposition is the tobacco companies, or who is it that's primarily that's...
Altria has spent the most money last session and the next to the most so far, this session. So probably tobacco and Farm Bureau, and that hurts me a lot because my father was really, active in Farm Bureau, and to watch them doing this that has created so much tragedy for so many people hurts.
But is it a freedom issue or is it a money issue? I mean, it's primarily on their side because neither one of those, I would say, are political entities. They're not ones that are out saying,
Well, the tobacco company is.
Well, tobacco company to a degree, but I'm sure they're out to make a buck too.
That's a dollar. That's money. It may be, again, to some extent freedom, but if we're going to live in a community, we have to limit our freedoms. I remember 7th grade when my teacher said, he was telling this story, and he said, the punchline is, your freedom ends where my nose begins. Now, if there any place where that fits any better than talking about tobacco smoke, it is, and it's not the smell, it's the danger that comes. And so, if somebody can smoke and keep it in their lungs, that's their business. But when they smoke and put it in the air we all have to breathe, that's like somebody coming along and spraying poison on the food. We wouldn't let them do that. Why would we let them poison the air? I mean, our stomachs can deal with an awful lot of even kind of bad food, but our lungs are what, 1/12 thick? So,
and what's amazing is when we did some of the air studies here in Bardstown before it went smoke-free, the level that the EPA has deemed unacceptable or harmful outdoors is a 35. And when we did some of the smoking establishments, and there really didn't seem to be that much smoke.
that many people.
That many people in the places at that point. A couple of them registered over 700. And this is what people are breathing. And a couple of times we said to ourselves, well, there's not that much smoke. I mean, you can smell it a little bit. But still, the toxin levels were really high. And so I go back to the basic bottom line is it's a health issue. I think it gets cloaked as a money issue. We're going to lose money as businesses. It's a freedom issue. We're going to lose our rights. But the bottom line is health. And I think with the experience of Bardstown over 4.5 years or so, I think, businesses don't seem to have been affected negatively. I think tourism has increased. I think people are pleased and proud that Bardstown is smoke-free.
So maybe why they got some of those awards. I wonder if if Bardstown would have been the most beautiful small city if it were not smoke-free.
No, I don't know. That's something that give a lot of thought to there. But again, what does somebody need to do right now? I mean, what's the next step? The next step right now, I know this legislature looks like it's not going to do a whole lot between now and then, the time it closes out.
it's really important to talk to anybody you know around the state to tell their legislator this is something that is crucial for the benefit of our state. Economically, I mean, you think about almost $5 billion a year right there, plus other businesses not wanting to come in. And the other thing, the reason I'm so big on it, my first husband started smoking when he was 13 years old. He tried and tried to quit smoking and couldn't do it. It's much harder, the things you do when you're a teenager, it's really hard to give up because it changes your brain. He did quit when he had a heart attack and died at 39, leaving a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. I don't want any other families having to go through that. And one of the big things, when they said that having a smoke-free community reduces the chance of a young person starting, I said, okay, I'm in. And if you look at the difference between Nelson County, Marion County, and Washington County in youth who smoke, if you look at some of the surveys, it's shocking and scary. And of course, Nelson County is not even all the way smoke-free yet. So, to me, government is not there to protect us from ourselves, but it is there to protect our young people until they get old enough to make a good decision and to protect us from each other. And that's what we're talking about here, is protecting us from each other.
Well, we are getting a much more crowded world now. I mean, even 30 years ago, the world wasn't anywhere near as upfront and personal as it is right now.
Right. And the purpose of the smoke-free ordinance isn't to stop people from smoking, but one of the great side benefits, like Judy just mentioned, is that younger people will, at a reduced level, start smoking with that in place. And I worked in addictions most of my career, was my field of treatment of addictions, and I had many clients who were on cocaine, heroin, oxy, who said when they got into recovery it was as difficult and sometimes more difficult to give up cigarettes than it was those other drugs. And we focus a lot of the legislature right now is focused on heroin, which is very good. Mm-hmm. It's very worthwhile. But secondhand smoke and cigarettes create many more deaths and harmful effects than heroin and cocaine, all that combined, ever did. So.
And you have to look at the logic. Our senator, and I'm thrilled that they did take care of the pill mills, but if he says this is a local issue, well, if this is a local issue, why weren't pill mills a local issue? What's the logic? And, the real issue, in my opinion, is nobody wants to be the grown-up.
What is the smoking rate? Is it gone down over the last 20 years, or just pretty much holding steady? I mean, I've not kept up with that much.
Well, overall, it has gone down some.
Yeah.
But, Kentucky started in a bad place, and we're still in a bad place.
So it's going to take a long time for attrition just to take it down to...
Yeah,
if it does at all.
But if we can have young people less likely to start smoking, and people say, well, you teach your kids. Well, after my experience with my husband, I told my children, so one thing, I'm going to ask you one thing, don't smoke. And so help me, my daughter started smoking. And because her friends were, she was in a place where other people were. What saved her life, I think, is that she got married, got pregnant in a couple of years, and quit smoking for that child. And, if she hadn't got pregnant for 10 years, she might not have been able to smoke, but to stop smoking. But then we need to give those kids that opportunity to engage their brains when they're old enough to really think seriously about it.
And going back to what we were talking about earlier, I mean, tobacco is not the cash crop in Kentucky anymore, obviously. Sure. I mean, that's not the crop that puts the Christmas presents under the tree anymore. So that argument is really not as solid as it used to be.
No, but it's tough to get out of the emotional piece of the
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not at the point now. You can't. It shouldn't be an emotional piece anymore. It shouldn't be saying, okay, we're making our living off tobacco, leave it alone. I mean, health issues, like you say, is probably more. People are more interested in that now than they are in worrying about how much tobacco they raise.
They are, but it still is amazing to me as we were working through the Nelson County Smoke-Free Coalition with the county and the city of Bardstown, is that proven facts, didn't seem to have much impact in terms of the decisions. Yeah. And even one of the main opponents of smoke-free statewide is very interested in a cancer research hospital, and yet is not supporting a bill that reduces cancer rates.
Silly facts.
I mean, it doesn't jive. It just doesn't jive. So it seems to be a a strong emotional component of some kind.
Yeah.
Because facts don't seem to.
Well, like I said, I'm just trying to explore everything. I like to explore the money part, and like I said, there's a lot of people out there with the liberty. I mean, I hear it all the time. They say, I can do what I want to with my own body. But again, as you mentioned, where does one person's rights ends and another's begin?
I'm fine with them doing what they want to with their own body.
They can do it in their car, can do it at home.
But not where other people have to breathe it. That's the only issue. We wouldn't allow somebody to come into a business and start spraying ammonia around. And we wouldn't, when you think about it, if a business owner wants to allow smoking there, they're making a profit from selling the health of their employees. Mm-hmm. Is that really fair?
Because we're not allowed in any way to harm other people.
Yeah.
Laws don't allow us to do that.
That's the whole point.
And so this is simply one more piece of that has not been defined by law at this point. But it just goes with the territory that if it's harmful, then it's like knocking you in the head or anything else, it would seem.
Now, the coalition you had, is it still active to some degree, or are you still trying to?
We're still working.
Recruit more people, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We get a lot of people listening tonight that may say, hey, that may be an issue I want to get involved with.
Call me.
That's what I say. How do they get in touch with you?
Call me, 502-472-0080. And I'll be delighted to get you started with the coalition. We definitely, a lot of our old work, we did get kind of worn out after a while, so we could use some new blood. It'd be great.
Yeah, I backed off of the coalition, the committee, after Bardstown went smoke free. Mm-hmm. It's a great group, a very hard-working group. It's enjoyable, and yet with great results, I think.
Well, that's an issue. Like I said, it's something somebody, and I know you all got the passion for it, and I'm sure there's other people out there as well, because I know I've talked to a lot of people, my wife included. My wife is one that's been pushing it for years. She says, we got to do something about smoking, and I know she won't even go to a restaurant with that allows smoking.
And the majority of Kentuckians, according to the chamber surveys and things like that, are in favor of a smoke-free,
including the chamber itself.
68%, I think, and one survey said, and so the legislators say we're voting for our constituents. Well, it seems like most of the constituents are in favor of it, and yet it doesn't get passed.
All right, well, you just got more work cut out for you, obviously, to come on shows like this and to visit schools or to visit anybody that'll, I guess, open the door and let you in.
True.
So basically, it's an issue that we're going to be talking about probably for a little bit longer, unfortunately, because it's not something that looks like it's going to be going through the legislature today or tomorrow. But again, you got a lot more education to do and a lot more people to reach.
We have to keep working. It's something, I guess people think, gee, that'd be a really great thing, but maybe don't think I've got to do something about it until their life is impacted by it. And that, if you start hearing the stories, one of the men who's worked really actively was, he was getting ready to retire, his wife's getting ready to retire, and she started having trouble, she had lung cancer, and they finally figured, she never smoked. People would smoke outside her office, and the air conditioner pulled it into her office. Now that's for the unfortunate ones. Yeah.
Well, Judy, Pat, we do appreciate you all being here today, and hopefully we get the word out a little bit. Is there anything you want to leave us with, or?
No, just thank you for inviting us, and I think I would just encourage people either to look at joining us with the coalition, or simply contact your lawmaker and let them know what you think and what your feelings are about it and what you think about it, and hopefully in support of the legislature at some point in the future, surely will pass.
Well, Pat Whalen, Judy Richardson-Jett here with us today, and we're going to talk about a smoke-free Kentucky, and if that's possible, or maybe
a smoke-free public workplace.
Okay, we're not going to.
We're not trying to keep.
We're not getting into your house or getting into your car or going in your backyard. It's a different story. But again, a smoke-free environment in public areas. So again, if you want to know more, give Judy a call or give us a call here at the station, and we'll get you in touch with her and let you know how you can do your part for something you have questions about or something you just want to know more about. So appreciate you all being here today, and hopefully we can do this again, and we'll talk a little bit down the road. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more of your community news right here on Community Focus here on Central Kentucky TV. We'll be right back.